Well, here we are. It is Friday, May 16th, 2025, and this is the weekly video. Every week we do these. We talk about Chinese art, Japanese art, Korean art, Asian art in general, bronzes, jades, porcelains, carpets, and textiles. We're going to talk a lot about carpets today because a very interesting sale took place this week in the Boston area, and they had great results, especially with Chinese rugs. If you like Chinese rugs, stick around. And we're going to talk about some American furniture, too. There's a good sale coming up down in North Carolina that's got some very nice sale at Leland Little, and there's a Bronx sale that's coming up, and I'm going to try and get something out on that soon in the next couple of days. But before we get started, there's something important I need to talk about a little bit because some things happened around here this week that were kind of interesting. You may recall a few weeks ago, I went on a little bit of a rant about an auction that took place in Vienna, Austria, regarding some brush pots. And this was at the Zacke sale, the Gallerie Zacke sale. And I was not very kind about them because I didn't think they were authentic. That was my opinion. And apparently it got everybody's panties in a twist. And I ended up a few weeks after the sale, I got a notice from YouTube that the video itself, and this had never happened before, was suddenly restricted on visibility around the world. And I'm not sure why. And I looked back, I said, what video is that? And I went and looked, and it was the one we did on Zacke. So draw whatever conclusion you want from that. But in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about why I said what I said, because I got a cease and desist notice from a law firm in the United States who's been hired by Zacke apparently to go around trying to intimidate people. Here it is. And I've gotten these before, and I don't really care, but I want to share what it says and some of our thinking on this, because now that video is technically dead as far as YouTube is concerned. And he went through a whole thing about what I should be doing and what to do and so forth. And the cease and desist, making any further negative comments about Gallerie Zacke. Well, I'm sorry. As a personal opinion, I can say whatever I want about Gallerie Zacke, and I said them. All right. And then they're asking me to remove the video, which I'm going to probably do. And I'm going to do this one in its place to replace why I said what I said as sort of a clarification. And because there's no point leaving a video up that I could end up spending $50,000 or $100,000 on lawyers to defend a video that no one's ever going to see. Because we looked at the graphic, the analytics on it, and the analytics were really good. It was going up, and then it just went flat. And it's been flat now for a while. So so much for the YouTube sticking up for their users. But anyway, it may be an EU law. I don't know what the hell it is, but I don't really care at this point. But anyway, I got this notice, and they want me to take the video down. And I communicated with a few people who are attorneys, and some of them are viewers. And they all said, look, is this a hill you want to die on and spend a lot of money for something that is going to win you anything when you can do a clarification and express exactly why I said what I said and show comparisons? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through a bunch of foot rims, and a number of people have asked, why not do a side-by-side comparison? And I said, I think that's absolutely the right thing. So I'm going to do some side-by-side comparisons of these two brush pots that were in question. There were other things in there that I had problems with too that I think were misidentified for whatever reason. But these we're going to talk about. All right, and I want to start with. Let's see, we'll start with this one. These are all the examples I'm going to show you are Kangxi. We're going to start with the Kangxi wares because they did a very specific reference as a comparable to this brush pot on the left to one that sold at Sotheby's a few years ago that I had seen. And it was in the Jerry Tang collection. It sold for $572,000. And the deal with comps, some people understand, it doesn't mean because it looks like it. You don't use a comp because something looks like something else. You do it because it's comparable. It's similar in quality, style, and value. That's what a comp means. If you're really using a comp properly, when we do appraisals and we write estate appraisals, you can't take a picture of a Baker Furniture Chippendale chest and do a comp with it to an 18th century American desk. or chest that's worth, worth $50,000. No, you do it to another baker example. You compare like with like for value. That's what comps are for. And in my opinion, they abuse that idea to encourage participation. So, at any rate, this is a Kangxi Femi-Vert Wucai vase that sold at Sotheby's a few years ago, and I want to just here's the bottom of it. Oh, there's the side of it, and there's the bottom of it. And I want to pay you all to pay close attention to what the bottoms of these look like, because the way they produce Kangxi and transitional brush pots and sleeve vases and so forth, they were very consistent. With how they structured them. Sometimes they put little feet on them, little foot rims on them, but the bottoms of them, even though they were made in a multitude of different kilns in Jigdashen, there was a certain way to do it that was accepted, the way to create a proper brush pot. And we're going to go through some of them. All right. And now this is the bottom of that pot that we just looked at. And this pot sold for $600,000 in the U.S. And these sales all within the last couple of years. These are not going back to the wild, crazy days of 2010, 11, and 12 when prices were jumping all over the place. There's only one piece in here, I think, from 2009. It's in the transitional side, but we'll get to that. And it did very well. But at any rate, this is a very elegant, beautifully done one. And pay close attention to the colors, the tones, the way the drawing is done, the way the faces are done of the figures. Okay, the translucency of the aubergine glazes, the translucency of the overglazed blue enamels, the way the greens are applied, how the outlining is done, and so forth. That's the really important part of it. And then the bottom, how is the bottom done? This is what the bottom of a Kangxi period brush pot, this is what nearly every one you're going to see looks like. And I'm going to whip through them here. We're going to keep both views on the left of the Zacke example, and we'll go through them. All right, this is a small brush pot. Very, very nicely done. Femi-Vert again, Wucai. Nice translucent blues, light blue translucent. The aubergines are quite attractive. Nicely done faces. Look at the faces, how they're drawn. Beautifully done. All right. And then hopping along over to the bottom of it, there it is. Now, this was sold a few years ago. This isn't an enormous wide brush pot. It's a fairly tall cylindrical one. This sold for $94,000, this one. All right. There's the bottom of it. And again, now you're going to see some that are dirty. Some of them have dirt on them still because they don't always clean them very well when they photograph them. You'll see a few that are very, very clean. But notice the banding effect, the way the clay is done and the way it's glazed. All right, and this is a small pot, so the bottom of this will look a little bit different than some of the bigger brush pots, but it's very, very, very good. Here's a bigger brush pot, a wide brush pot, a blue and white brush pot. And generally, blue and white brush pots don't sell for quite as much as the enamel decorated ones, unless they're extraordinarily well decorated. This happens to be a very, very nice example. And there's the bottom of it again. Notice the very, very white paste all around, and then you have this sort of these stepped bands that run out, but very, very white. All right, and this was sold by Frank Caro, and you may remember it's famous. He had the famous sticker that's saying "Successor to C.T. Liu," because C.T. Liu he retired from the Chinese art world more or less in 1949 when the communists took over China, because he didn't think there would be any more Chinese art business in the U.S. because he couldn't go there and export stuff anymore. And a man that worked with him named Frank Caro took over his operation. Frank Caro started out as a photographer and learned an awful lot about Chinese art. He became very good dealer. But at any rate, this is the bottom of that pot. And this one sold for $150,000. And here you have another blue and white example. And again, with a mark on it. And even with and without the marks, you'll find a lot of similar treatments of the undersides. This one sold for $125,000. But again, very pure, very white, nicely done. And you have this inner edge here that's a band of clay, and then it changes a little bit in the trimming. And then you have the outer edge and the outer bands. Sometimes there's 4 or 5, but this is a very nice example. And then you have this tall, this is one of these smaller ones again, in Wucai decoration. There's the bottom of this, very similar to the one that we just looked at. Not the same, but similar, very similar. Again, white, 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 clean, pure clay. Because the Kangxi period and the transitional period, they really had fairly iron-free clay. So you don't see a lot of iron bloom in it the way you did with the Longquan celadons or any of that stuff, which was more of a grayish stoneware with a lot of iron in it. This is a very, very white kaolin that they had access to at that time. And as you know, the supplies changed because they would tap out a mine full of clay and they'd have to get a new source for the kaolin. But at this time, they had a good stable source for very, very fine quality clay. And you have this. Then there's this wonderful scene of Lohans in bamboo groves reading and studying scholars and so forth. And here's this. Now this did very well. It brought $381,000. It's blue and white, but it was exceptionally well done. That's a corker of a brush pot. Beautifully done. Notice how finely painted the bamboo stalks are on it and so forth. Just elegant, perfect. And this is the bottom. Again, you got these bands moving in. You can seal them in a little bit. They're not terribly obvious, but they're there. And then a sort of recessed bottom, almost like the punti you see on a piece of glass. And that sold for $381,000 a few years ago, within the last couple of years. And then this is the one from the Jerry Tang collection. Now, I don't have a picture of the bottom of this, but I can tell you the bottom of this one is white also. And it's beautifully done. And this is the one that they were comparing in the Gallerie Zacke example. Why? Because it sold for $572,000. And there aren't very many Femi-Vert, Wutsai decorated brush pots that bring that kind of money. This was an exceptional one. It's one of the finest ones in the world. The colors are amazing. But when you go through it, you compare the reds on this to the reds in the Zacke example, the yellows, this very thin, translucent yellow. Same with the greens. The enamels, the over enamels they used on this in many places are quite translucent to the background, and that was the desired effect and so forth. All right. Okay. And then you have this blue one. I lost the screen there for a second. You have this very nice blue and white example with scholars outside, looking at scrolls and practicing calligraphy and so forth. And here's the back of it, nicely done. And this was not as fancy, as finely done as the previous blue and white one, you may recall. It's a little bit heavier in the brush, but it's an interesting scene nonetheless. It certainly is interesting. And you have objects, you have peacock feathers on the table coming out of it looks like a bronze, Guform bronze of some kind in the background there, and little objects and so forth. And he's doing his calligraphy, or teaching calligraphy perhaps. And then the back of it, that's what it looks like. That's what these things look like. They don't look brown and black and gunky and messy. Even, sometimes it's dirt, but you can tell the difference between dirt and something that's been put there to make it look old, and so forth. And then you have this one. This is, this is very, very fine, one of these very, very fine examples. Now, these types in the past have often been attributed to being transitional or being Xunjie period and so forth. This time around, the dating is getting more and more refined all the time. They're saying that this is a early Kangxi example, I suspect, but beautifully decorated, very fine, but all from that period. And again, when you turn the thing over, it's got these check marks on it, the check mark grass and so forth. These are usually labeled up as being transitional, but in this case, they called it Kangxi, I guess. But it's a beautiful example. There's the bottom of it. And this was sold by Marchants in London, of course, because they handle great stuff. And that's what it looks like. Spectacular example. And another brush pot here, again, a good blue and white one. I don't think it's as good as the one we just looked at, but it's a perfectly nice example. Again, scholars at a table outdoors, so they used to put tables outside to study. There's the bottom of this. And this one was also sold by Marchants. And there's the bottom of it. Again, beautiful, beautiful white clay. Beautiful. This one has a foot on it, which is a bit unusual. And here's another one in Wutsai. Nicely done. Nice translucent blues, nice translucent greens and light blues and yellows and all this. No hot yellows, no bright lemon yellows. The red is rich. It looks like dried blood. It doesn't look like sort of like bright pumpkin red. There's a very elegant depth to the red, like red lacquer. I guess is the closest color I can think of. Good Chinese red lacquer. Here's the bottom of it again. White, beautifully done. This is very much like a transitional foot rim. And then you have this brush pot here. This is quite lovely, beautiful scene. And again, you can see that the translucency of the enamels jumps out at you. You have dark aubergine and lighter aubergines. You have different tones and so forth, and that's something that they look for. And it's mentioned on the Zacke piece. They said, well, having light and dark aubergine is a good thing. But it is a good thing. But this is a very, very lovely example. There's an elegance to it, and this is what the bottom of it looks like. And this one sold for $75,000 a number of years ago. All right, so that's that. All right, that's that for the Kangxi pieces. But you see, they're white. The feet are beautifully finished, and the colors are soft and translucent and elegant, not harsh and hard, like the other example. All right, and now let's take a look at some transitional pieces, because they had the transitional brush pot in the sale. All right, and we're going to go through it, and you're going to see exactly the same thing. This is what's interesting. You're going to have the same kind of bottoms on transitional pieces as far as the clay goes that you had on the Kangxi pieces. And here it is. All right, I'm going to close that up and move over to this one. Now, it's interesting because I went back to Gallerie Zacke today to double check on the prices and so forth in the sale. And the transitional pot they sold on the site has disappeared. It's no longer on their own website. It's still on Invaluable, but it's not on Zacke's site. So for some reason, they removed a sold lot from the site. I'm not sure what happened. But at any rate, I don't know, you have to send the detectives out and find out why they're removing stuff. But at any rate, then you have this. This is a transitional era, mid 17th century pot. This was one that we sold a number of years ago that came out of a really good collection down in Georgia that we handled. There's the bottom of it. No surprise, that's what it should look like. This one we cleaned up a bit, but there was some gunk on the edge there. And we never figured out quite what that was. That may have been a little rust from sitting on something that got into it. It's clearly on the surface, but we didn't want to damage the piece by trying to get it off, so we left it. All right, and then there's this. Everybody recognizes these. 100 Boys jars. Very nicely done, beautifully potted. These are in the home of a friend of ours. And I was over there for dinner, and they took them down because they wanted me to look at them. And they're very nice. They're beautiful. One of them is damaged, unfortunately. They came from his grandfather's house. But here's the bottom of it. And this is dirt. You can see where before we took the pictures, his wife took a paper towel and wiped the bottom just a little with water. And the dirt just fell off of the thing. So she was a little embarrassed. She was going to have to clean the porcelain. Anyway, nice looking thing. It's up on a shelf. It's up very high, so you only see the upper half of the jars. And then this one is an interesting story. This is a transitional ware pot that turned up in an auction here in New England that I was involved with. And the deal was it came out of a very old New England house, a very good collection. And it belonged to a man who was actually very interested in Japanese tea culture and tea wares. He had a lot of amazing early blue and white Arito wares and so forth. And he had this piece. It's a transitional Chinese porcelain, but it had been made into a mizusashi, a water jar. And it's got this beautiful, I didn't pay too much attention to the lid because I wanted to show the piece. But on the top here, you can see that the lid is still there. There's this very nice low profile lacquer lid that sits on it. And this was sent to Japan to be used as part of a teaware. This is the side of it. And this sold, now I'll give you an idea about the market. This was sold 8 or 9 years ago, I guess, at this point, somewhere around there. And it was in an auction in southern Maine. They didn't have internet. They never used internet connections. They don't use the internet to bid. They don't accept phone bids, and they don't accept left bids. If you want something in their auction, their name is Boyd. They're wonderful people. And Maureen and her husband run this auction house. She's actually John McGinnis's sister, who is also a whole family in the auction business. Nice family. And they called and asked me about it, because they were trying to get the estate, and they wanted to know if this was something they should show some encouragement for with the family, because they want to get the consignment. And I said, yeah, it's a great thing. It'll bring over $50,000 if you get it, and put a few pictures in the Antiques and Arts Weekly. And they had this and another piece, a Ming piece that brought around $25,000 that was damaged, but it was a beautiful piece. But regardless, they had this one. And I went up there, and this was photographed on the back porch of their house. I took the pictures, And it was a beautiful piece. And it's got the enway decoration around the top. You can faintly see it like it was vines. And at the bottom, there you have this beautiful, beautiful, soft, translucent drawing. But look at the faces, the way they're drawn. The man on the daybed there, and he's being sort of helped along by a lady. It was an older man. And then you had down here. It's hard to see because the sun was blasting it. But there's a sort of enway decoration under here, vines and things. But it's a beautiful, beautiful little pot. Okay, and at this auction, and there's the bottom of it. All right. What do you see? You see dirt because it came out of a dirty cardboard box that was in storage at this house, but not their house, another house where it came from. But smooth and white and pure clay. And then look at the one that's sold in Vienna. Okay, enough said. All right, there's no foot chewed up on it. It doesn't have the crazy radiating dirt lines in the middle and all that because they didn't make them that way. It's simple as that. They just didn't. They didn't make them that way. This brush pot brought $65,000. All right, and then you have this Wutsai jar. We've all seen them, squirrels and grapes and fruits climbing. There's the bottom of it, and this was filthy. I got this out of an estate. This was one that we had, and I washed it. I cleaned this up, and it was snow white underneath, and I never bothered to take a picture of it clean. This was just a picture of when we were initially photographing it for the customer, and you can see how white it was in certain places in here where there's a little crack, and you can see it. All right, and that's what the whole piece looked like by the time we gave it a good, nothing harsh, just cleaned it up a little bit. Here's another one, a jar, again, dirty, out of a Yankee house, Ming, or late Ming, early transitional. And you have this Chonzhen period, or Shunshi period, Lohan brush, incense burner. Nicely done. And then again, I'm not showing this because it has a flat bottom like the other pieces. These incense burners don't often, but it's got this very, very nice white paste foot. There's no impurities in it. And I wanted to show that. That's what it should look like. That's what they made all these pieces out of. Here's another one that we had that came out of the Green collection in Rhode Island. He was a big collector. He was the mayor of Newport, Rhode Island at one point, back around the turn of the century. This came from a very nice, good auctioneer down there. I bought it, and it's got a little gilt splash in the middle. I mean, a little glaze splash in the middle, which you often see, and decidedly concave, but again, that very, very, very white clay. That's what you get with transitional wares and Chunju wares and so forth. Pair of sleeve vases, ditto. One on the right, we cleaned up a little. The one on the left, we didn't. And there's the difference. And this one, we didn't thoroughly clean. We just gave it a going over. But you can see there's no chatter marks. There's no chewing to it. There's no nothing. It's just smooth white clay. And this is a theme right through all of these. And here's one brush pot. There's the bottom of it. And this sold for $45,000 a few years ago, a couple of years ago. It had been exhibited at the Oriental Ceramic Society and so forth. Very, very typical. Sleeve vase, very nicely done. This one sold for over $200,000. Here's the bottom of it. Originally was sold by the Ralph Chait Gallery. Then you have this one. This is a stunner. This is an absolutely fabulous piece. And it's got feet on it, which is very unusual, and spectacular quality decoration. The soldiers coming in and so forth. All right. And the bottom of it, there it is. That's what you want to see. $355,000. And I'm not comparing it because this one has feet and the other one doesn't. I'm only comparing it to show how clean and white it was, and there's no chewing to the bottom. Now, this is the one that I think that sold in 2009 or 10, back a number of years ago, and it was fairly well chewed up around the bottom, even back then. And this was before the transitional wear stuff really took off, because the transitional wares really took off after the famous Butler collection book got published, the Leaping the Dragon's Gate. And prices just went, and then all the forgers went to work. But this is one that sold long before that book came out. Beautifully done, sort of chewed up on the bottom a little bit, but again, beautifully decorated, very, very nice. 2009, 15, 16 years ago. There's the bottom, had a firing crack in the base, again, but snow white, very, very smooth. Not quite the same refinement as the Kangxi wares had when they were done. And this one sold back then for $27,000 in 16 years ago. And that was before the big boom, the huge boom in Chinese porcelain prices. Then you have this one. This one has some discoloration from the firing on the lower right here. You can see it has sort of an ivory color, but transitional. There's the top of it. This brought $79,000 a couple of years ago with the firing flaw. And there's the bottom. And there's no areas that are chewed up. There's no foot that's been ground down. That's not how they did them, folks. It's just not. And we could go on and do this all day. This is the Zacke example, and there's the bottom. Now, which one is not like the others? I guess is the old expression. And that's all I was trying to say when I looked at theirs and I looked at it and I expressed my opinions about it. And if they don't like my opinion, I'm sorry. But I find it very difficult to believe that with, they're over 50 years in the business, didn't spot this and didn't spot other pieces. They didn't spot some other things. And I don't find it, I just don't, in that video, I expressed my doubt of the plausibility of that happening. And now with the disappearance of this one off their website, for whatever reason, it does tend to make one wonder, doesn't it? But you didn't see anything that looked like this. And even if it had a Kangxi looking foot on it, they say, well, maybe there was late in the transitional period, they were starting to make them that way. No, this is just a chewed up mess. And it's not what they look like. Simple as that. And this work here, the way the faces are done and so forth, I don't like them. I just don't like the way they're done. I don't like the way the cobalt is applied, and I didn't buy it, and I was critical of it. And those are my opinions, and I'm going to stick by them. That's what I think. All right. And if you have an opinion on what I just said, please leave it below. I'm open to conversation. I'm not, and it would have been nice if Alex Zacke bothered to pick up the phone and just call me, say, hey, what are you doing? But he didn't. And I've communicated with Alexander Zacke before, many years ago, when he had Auctioneer, and he was trying to get that going, which I thought was wonderful. Wonderful. And it didn't work out for him. That's okay. But I just, this hiring lawyer nonsense is just stupid. And if K&L Gates doesn't like this video, I can't help him. This is the end of it. All right. But those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. They're not the opinions of anybody else. This is sort of legal schmiegel talk here. And that's it. Okay, we're done. We're out. All right. All right. Now let's get on to the regular video. We've talked enough about this. And we'll go through what's coming up this week. So what's coming up this week? Let's get on to some happy talk here. There's this. This is a sale that just finished. This was the Skinner auction. Well, I could still call them Skinners. Bonhams in Marlborough, Massachusetts. One thing that's nice about Skinners is they've always had a very good rug department. And it was started many, many years ago by a woman named Louise Woodhead, who I knew. I liked her. And Louise was wonderful. She was a real fan of carpets and textiles. And she did their first all Oriental rug auction because she recognized, and Bob Skinner at the time, who was still with us, recognized that there's a market for this stuff because you look around the world, a lot of big rug galleries in Europe, because they treat rugs in Europe much more respectfully than most Americans do. In Europe, in Germany, in Switzerland, in Austria, and France, they view rugs as art, and they even hang them on the walls. And Europeans have treated rugs like art for centuries, going back to the Holbein paintings. You'll see carpets on tabletops. They absolutely love them and respect them. And I'm glad to see this sale did well. This really, really pleases me. The rug market hasn't come back completely, but it really went into the doldrums for the last 15 years. Very sad. These beautiful, beautiful examples were selling for nothing. Absolutely nothing. And now there's some life in the old girl yet, as I like to say. All right. I'm going to go through some of the pieces that did well. Now, remember, the prices they're showing do not reflect the buyer's premium, which is another 30% roughly. So in this case, they had this very nice 18th century carpet that was 5 by 9 feet. Very desirable rug. This was a beautiful rug. It needs about $4,000 worth or $5,000 worth of work, at least, to clean this up. And a good weaver, a good restorer, will make this rug look like it was never, ever corroded or worn down in the middle. Because this is a very rare rug and it's worthy of preserving. This is a beautiful carpet. The colors are so pleasing and so forth. But somebody put it in a Western home and tromped all over it probably, 100 years ago before it got saved by a collector. But this is a beautiful carpet. And as I said, it's 5 by 9 feet. And it was estimated at $3,000 to $4,000. Ended up selling for $3,200 plus the premium, so around $4,200 for it. It's a beautiful carpet. And then over to this one. This was a really nice pillar rug, 4 by 7 feet, a little over 4 by 7 feet, a little bigger than that. But this rug was made around 1800. And if you look at the colors on this rug, they're very, very pleasing. The color palette here is great. It's got all the Buddhist symbols and precious objects, and I love the animals off to the side coming in, and lozenges and silks and rolls. You've got Tibetan like it's almost like a Vajra there, all kinds of things. And then you have this very nice finish at the end. Same pattern, the wave, crashing waves on the rock pattern that you see on Chinese robes. But a beautiful, beautiful rug. And this was a pillar rug, so it may not have been put on the floor much, so it was still in beautiful condition. Because somebody actually asked me about this. They said, was that a 20th century rug? I said, no, that's an old rug. But it's just in beautiful shape, because this is what they looked like. They looked great old. And there's the back of it. And if you were to pick this rug up, it would be very floppy and loose. Chinese rugs are very loose in your hand. They have in the rug world, they call it like a handle. They have a handle, how it feels in your hand, like a blanket. And this was a very lovely example. And with the premium, it ended up at about $5,800. Beautiful example, just great. And then this was a really good rug. And again, this is one that's very old, circa 1800, with this great looking lattice pattern. And then you have this beautiful lotus blossom in the middle and more lattices, but the color palette of combining blues and browns and yellows and ivories, and then working it all into a multitude of different types of decoration is a true skill. You have curvilinear decorations, you've got geometric decorations, you've got mixes of colors, and then you've got that spectacular cobalt outer border inside of this sort of like almost like a Greek key fret border coming around the outside. And it's just the optical on this is very good, the optics. And there's the back of it. Looks awfully nice. And it was estimated at $1,500 to just $2,000. I don't know why they gave it such a low estimate. Ended up selling for about $12,000 with the premium. Beautiful thing, just a beautiful thing. And then this was one of the big guns in the sale. I love this thing. And they had estimated it $20,000 to $30,000, and it got there. It brought $26,000, including the premium, which is just slightly over the mid half the estimate. But a very, very rare rug. This rug was woven around 1600. This is a very old rug, and this is the kind of rug, this pattern, think of this pattern. You see it often in European paintings, on tabletops and in backgrounds. These sort of they were known as star ushaks. And it's like looking up at the sky. It's just an amazing thing. Love the colors. And $26,000 got it. 5'8" by 6'4", and I'm pretty sure this is going to end up hung on a wall like a tapestry. And hopefully maybe put something over it to protect it a little bit, but put it in a nice spot. It'll be very happy there. All right. And then over to this, that was it. But if you like the sale, if you like carpets and stuff, it's a good sale to go over and look at. It's on Invaluable. It's on Live Auctioneers. It's on the Bonhams website. And you can go and check the price and go through the whole thing if you want. But it's very, very nice. All right. Now, over to, let's see, what's this next sale that's coming up? This, the A.H. Wilkens up in Canada. They've got a pretty good sale coming up. And I'm going to go through it. It just came on. It seems like it just popped up overnight. But they've got some nice things. They've got some nice paintings. They've got some decent bronzes, some decent porcelain, and so forth. And let's hop into this painting. I want to talk about this painting. This is very nice. This is sort of a famous scene, and it's been repeated many. Somebody's selling something. Okay, and I'm back again. Actually, it was somebody I wanted to talk to, an old friend. Any rate, here we are. So here you have this lovely fan. It's a well-known scene. Man staring off at the clouds. I like this. Probably 19th or early 20th century, I think, but it's beautifully done. It's got a modest estimate of, and remember in Canada, it's 70 cents to the dollar. So $200 in Canada is $143 in the United States. So you're at a pretty good exchange rate advantage if you're buying from down here. All right. And then there's this on the sale. This is again, this is one of those transitional jars. And I actually had one of these. Now, this is interesting. I had one very similar to this that I sold about 12 or 13 years ago. It's a nice form. It's got the sort of the crazy birds on the back. And then, of course, the very classic transitional wear foot, white again. This one's kind of dirty in places, but that's what they look like. And the one that I had years ago, we sold, I think we got $6,000 for it. So that'll give you some idea of where this could end up. It's estimated at just $2,000 to $3,000 Canadian, or $1,400 to $2,100. I think it should go way beyond that, but we'll see. You don't know these days. All right, and then over here to these. This is sort of a theme on the Red Cliffs bowls, a Red Cliff story of the Red Cliffs. It's two figures sitting in a boat, and these were apparently sold by Ralph Chait Gallery in New York. They look fine. They look like 18th century bowls to me, and they're estimated at basically, well, they're estimated at around $2,800 to $5,000 for the pair. That's probably reasonable. All right, but this is maybe the most interesting thing in the sale. This is a very nice, as far as porcelains goes. Maybe some others. I didn't go through the whole sale yet, but I wanted to get everybody looking at this thing. The sale is on May 29th, by the way. It's in about 2 weeks. Is this very, very nice ewer with a phoenix head on it, and you don't see these too often. This is sort of a rare bird, to use a bad metaphor, and but nicely done, beautifully decorated. Luscious cobalt blue, very, very pretty pot. Measures about 9 inches tall. There's the other side of it, and of course it was interesting. What they did was they luted the back of the phoenix's head to the back of the vase to make it stronger, because otherwise this long neck would have surely snapped off by now, or would have been very likely to have snapped off by now. You want to get a condition report on all this stuff, but for heaven's sakes, leave a bid. The starting bid on this is $2,800 US. Seems very reasonable. It's a rare form, and if you like blue and white and you like Hung Shi wares, you want to check that out. And then over here to this, I love this painting. Absolutely love this painting. From a distance, it looks good, but when you bring it in close, it looks wonderful. And it is a court scene. The man on the left that's standing there is a court worker, and the woman in the picture is either one of the empresses or one of the princesses or one of the high-ranking concubines. But this is a wonderful scene in the Moongate window, and you may remember having seen watercolors that are in the Palace Museum, and I think there's in Hong Kong, I think, or in Beijing rather, of Yongchen period, where they had the emperor and the empress. Often they did a whole series of paintings, often sitting in these round windows, and here she is getting dressed. The colors are good. It's a very nice scene. This is not the average Chinese house. Very elegant, very beautiful. Female attendant behind her, and this man is standing with his complete attire on, looking very elegant. This was done probably about 1800 or so, 1810. The starting price is $287 US. It is framed. It measures about 19 inches by 19 and a half by 14 and a half inches wide. The estimate is $800 to $1,200 Canadian. So take 30% off of that, basically, to get it in US dollars. It's a nice picture, and of course shipping paintings like this size isn't too expensive because they're fairly small boxes when they get done. And then these paintings here, these are two expert paintings. One is Penna Hill, and then Macau, and wonderful scenes. And beautifully done. They're sort of luminous paintings. And these kind of paintings always remind me of the painter that lived here in Gloucester named Fitzhenry Lane. He was a luminous painter also, and lived at about the same time these paintings were done. This was the style. And any rate, I love the scene of the clipper ship, the square rigger coming into the harbor and so forth. This is a nice pair of paintings. They are apparently unframed, so you'll have to get them framed, but the estimate on them is, I think, very reasonable, 15 to 25,000 Canadian. So that works out to about 10 to 18,000 for both, or $8,000 or $9,000 a piece is the estimates, which isn't bad for these. These are very nice looking paintings. You want to find out and have them blacklighted. And a lot of this stuff came from one particular collection. I don't know if these came from it. There's a fellow, you see his name scattered throughout it. Go back one. I think it's no, not that one. This Michael Manford was one of the collections that ended up here. If you live in Canada and you know who Michael Manford is, this is his stuff, a lot of it anyway. And so check it out. There's a bunch of stuff in there. I'm going to go through it more thoroughly and put the stuff on the global pages, but worth looking into. That's a nice looking sale up at Wilkens on the 29th of this month, end of the month. Now, this is a reminder of the sale coming up at Revere Auctions in about 5 days from now. We talked about it last week. This is the sale, and then it's a collection of Dr. Robert Jacobson in it, who is an author and a scholar on Asian art. He wrote books on Chinese robes, all kinds of books. There's a huge library of books in this sale. huge. Also, some very unusual, very good ceramics. There's some, I mentioned it a bunch of times, paper cut sung bowls, other sung bowls, some nice early Southeast Asian ceramics. There's some good silk in here. There's all kinds of stuff in here, but a massive number of books. And I was talking with somebody the other day, and they were commenting on, well, the price of books seems to have softened up. And that's because people aren't buying them. All right, I'm just going to say this one more time. If you are relying on the internet to get accurate information on Chinese objects of any kind, you're risking it, because Google has no idea if you take a photograph of a doorknob and put it on the internet as a jade pendant from the Ming Dynasty, they're going to list it as the doorknob as a jade pendant. They have no idea whether it is or not. The value of pictures you find on the internet are only as good as the source that they're being published by. And if you've got somebody that doesn't know what he's doing and he's publishing stuff on a Shopify account or on Etsy or one of these other crazy places, those places are really good at indexing images. And that's why you run into so many things for sale on these retail sites in Google Images. When you're looking things up, you come across them often. It doesn't mean they know what they're doing. So you need the books, you need the reference material, you need to go to museums, you need to bone up in order to make a good decision. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a house full of fakes. And this is a good series of books. A lot of Sung ceramics in here. They have the Rizzoli book, the big Rizzoli book on Sung wares. It's very, very good. Of course, they published the famous Qing Dynasty book, Rizzoli, written by Michel Baudelaire years ago. It's one of the Bibles. It's beautifully done, beautifully illustrated, and these are big books, like coffee table books, but they are spectacularly well illustrated and written. Good information, very readable, and so forth. And also, you have Chinese ceramics in the Bauer collection by John Ayres, Volume 1 and 2. All kinds of good books in here. And there's other lots as well, a series of books. So be sure to check the Revere sale. I think there's an opportunity because a lot of the stuff has very low estimates. The paper cut bowls only have $200 to $400 estimates, and they should bring $4,000 to $6,000. So and they're not getting a lot of bids yet. I checked it this morning. So get over there and register and buy something for yourself. And then this is William Smith has a sale coming up. He's in Plainfield, New Hampshire. And William Smith has been around a long time. He's a very good auctioneer. I mentioned him the other day because we added him to that list that we published over for the Patreon subscribers. We created a new category in the collections area of auction houses with direct links right to their websites, so you can get around paying the 3 or 4 or 5% extra that you pay if you buy on Invaluable or in Live Auctioneers. You can go right to their site. They want you to register there. It's very good. You can do the same with Leland Little. Go to their site and register. They also keep you up to date personally on things that are coming up that might be of interest to you, and you can build a connection with these auction houses. That's very important. If you subscribe to a good auction house site, and they give you preferences of things that you're interested in, if you start communicating with them, they will communicate with you and tell you when they have things that they think will be of value to you and of interest to you. If they're a good auction house, they do that. And I hear from auction houses all the time. They drop me notes and emails and things. They let me know something's coming up that I might want based on what I bought in the past. It's well worth it. All right, so go over there and sign up to some of these auction houses directly, and then you can just go there quickly. You can go in and you'll save money. You save $400, $500 for every $10,000 you spend. Basically, if you buy something for $10,000 from one of these companies, and you have to get it shipped, what you save on commissions pays for the shipping. So you end up with basically free shipping if you want to look at it that way. Anyway, this is a very nice China Trade Export bowl with ships on it. It's 18th century, nicely done. It looks to be in very, very good condition. You want to get a condition report just the same, but a very good example. And it's not a huge bowl. I've seen these bowls very, very big, 16, 17 inches in diameter. This one is about 9.5 inches. It's a nice small size. I like it. It's a very sweet bowl. Put it on a shelf and enjoy it. It's well decorated. I like the blue enamels floating in the sky above it. And then the interior has this very classic later 18th century swag decoration of flowers. You see that a lot on China Trade Wares for the American and for the English market. Very, very nicely done. Estimated at $1,000 to $1,500 with a $500 starting price. There's 42 people watching it. This is a nice bowl. A lot of people are going to want it. If you're looking for one of these, this is your chance. And then this, the horses. There are a couple of good Chinese paintings in here. There's one that's sort of on the 100 Boys pattern, which I thought was absolutely charming. There are kids riding hobby horses and having fun outdoors and playing games and carrying parasols and doing all this crazy stuff with adults sort of around supervising them, and sort of this these beautiful settings in the countryside. And then you have this one. This is a nice long painting, and it's a very narrow painting. I'm going to get to the guy. I'm going to come back and look at the picture for a minute, but I want you to see how big it is. There it is. What a great size. So you could run this in a hallway. You could put it, if you have a high enough ceiling, you could put it over a doorway. If you have a nice big wide doorway in your house, lots of places to put a thing like this. But the work on it is very attractive. It's signed and sealed. And you have scenes like this with this charming old guy sitting here with his horses, and the horses are just sort of roaming around without brindles on or saddles on, nothing. And they're just bridles on. They're just sort of grazing and enjoying the day. And you have this very nice lapis blue that they used in these paintings. It's just beautiful, but lots of good detail in this picture. This is a nice looking painting. The willow trees are beautifully done. They're very faintly done in places and more exaggerated in others. You have this nice muscular looking horse coming down a hill and so forth. Nice painting. And the estimate, they got a very reasonable estimate, $800 to $1,200 with a $400 opening bid. It's a nice painting. If you like Chinese paintings, I recommend it. I really do. And the other one too, go check the other one, the one with the boys on it. It's in the catalog, as I recall. It's the lot before or after this one. So you absolutely want to look at that. And there's very fine Chinese 18th or early 19th century ivory cup in the sale with relief work off of it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful cup. And then there's this. Now this is coming up on this sale is on the 28th. And this sale is on the 28th also. And they have a couple sales that they have at the company. This beautiful tray. I love this thing. This is a service tray, and it's either bronze or copper in the middle. Excellently done, wonderful colors. I just like the look of this. Probably made I suspect for the English or the American market during the 19th century. They listed it as 20th century, and I don't think it is. I think I've seen English trays, and I've seen European and trays around here, because service trays were very, very popular, of course, into the 20th century. But in China, they made them for the West. And this has bamboo handles on it, beautiful wood. It looks like it's in outstanding condition. It's around, what was the size of it? Was it 20 inches or something? Hold on. 25 inches long and 15 inches across. So it's a good size. It's a usable size, perfect for the summer. You got company, serve them on something nice. Put the iced tea drinks on those. If you don't want to get it stained with it, you can always have a thin piece of glass cut to fit in there, and you'll be all set. But that's a beautiful looking tray. There's the detail work of the dragon. Look at the detail in this thing. Look at the detail of the scales on the dragon. This thing was meticulously worked, chasing the flaming pearl of perfection, which might be your best martini or something like that. All right, the estimate, they just say $50,000 to $25,000 on everything. I suspect it should bring $500 to $700 or $400 to $600. It's a beautiful tray. All right, and then they have an Americana sale on the. These all on the 28th. I want to make sure I get the right dates in here. Okay, those are on the 28th. These are not in the China trade sale and the Chinese sale. These are in the American furniture sale that's coming up. These are in the American furniture sale on the 28th, the one with the horses. The Chinese porcelain sale and objects is coming up on the 21st. We're going to do this one, finish this one first. There's some very nice American furniture, and if you like furniture, there's this very good circa 1800 they call them work tables. It's got a pull-out drawer with a tilting desktop on it, so you can write letters and things. But these make great end tables in a house. They're beautifully done, superbly carved bases on them. This has got crotch veneered mahogany on it, nicely rounded veneered corners and so forth. Very attractive with glass molded. Usually they're molded glass clear knobs. There's the top of it, all nice old. This is either Cuban or Honduran mahogany. It was made either in New York or Connecticut or somewhere. It could have been made in Boston even, but it looks like more like a New York thing to me. Anyway, that's a nice thing. And then this Boston table, this is they call them classical tables for obvious reasons with the columns, but this is beautiful with these gilt bronze mounts on it. And has a mirror back underneath. And these are great. You could put them in hallways. Has a marble top. They put marble tops on them so you could mix drinks on them or put vases on them full of water, and they wouldn't leave rings and damage the surface. They actually called them mixing. Sometimes there was a type of table they made in the 18th century with on Chippendale tables and so forth. They called them mixing tables, and they put these beautiful fielded marble tops on them for putting liquor decanters. So because the liquor would eat right through the varnishes that they used back then, so they would put marble tops on them. This one has a beautiful white marble top. It may or may not be the original. You'd have to look under it and look at it carefully to see if it looks like it was freshly cut. But what you're paying for is the table. The table is marble. Doesn't. It's nice to have the old marble, but marble is marble. It's all the same age. Don't forget that. It just depends on when it was cut. But this is not all trees are the same age. This is a beautifully veneered, almost like tortoiseshell veneer on here of mahogany, and then these beautiful columns that they steamed the veneer around to fit on, and this nice lower section with these ribbed feet. Absolutely great. And what is this thing estimated at? Well, it should bring, I would think, $1,000 to $1,500 back in the day when Americana was selling really well. A table like this or a pair of tables like this would sell for $8,000 or $10,000, $15,000. In a big shop in New York, might bring 20. They might be asking 20 or 25,000 for these tables. But this is a good one. It's a nice one. And the interesting part of these tables are, if you buy this one, if you keep your eyes open, you might find another one, because the workshops that made these often made many of them. And they all had very similar mounts. They did runs of them. And every once in a while, I've heard people, they find the mate to it. It's pretty great. All right. And then this is the last thing I want to show in the furniture section on this. And pay attention if you like American furniture. This is a Dunlop School maple highboy, made in the mid to late 18th century, or 1770, yeah, right around there, second half. And the Dunlops were cabinet makers that lived in New Hampshire, and they were stupendously talented. And they always called it the Dunlop School because they're never quite sure which one did it. But the Dunlops had other jobs. Many of them had other jobs. They worked other things. And then during the winter, when it was, the snow and stuff around here is brutal. It was brutal then. It was worse, actually. They had to find a way to make a living. So they took in orders to make custom furniture for wealthy shipping families. A lot of them were wealthy shipping families in the Portsmouth area, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, because it was a big shipping place. And it was a major exportation point for things like white pine to England, believe it or not. That was a big export product, and salted cod and other things that they shipped out. But they would order these chests, and this is a beautiful example. And the Dunlops were notable for these scrolls at the bottom and the double fans. This one has a fan in the center drawer at the bottom, and then double fans on each side of the scroll work. Beautifully done Queen Anne feet with these big hook-shaped returns on the knee right here, right behind the knee. Absolutely beautiful piece of furniture. It's estimated at 10 to 30,000. It should bring the upper end of that. Back in the 90s, a chest like this would sell for $100,000. It's a spectacular piece of furniture. And if you hired somebody to make this chest with high quality maple like this, it would probably cost you $20,000 or $30,000. So it's worth checking out. All right. And then over here, this is Leland Little's on the 21st. I want to get the dates right. May 22nd, rather. There's this very nice little group. Then there's some good pieces in here tucked in. It's not a huge sale. But they've got some nice pieces, and they got a couple of familiar faces that probably didn't get paid for, or the buyer's credit card couldn't support the purchase. I never know which. But this was in the sale. I remember this nice Faiwa incense burner from a sale ago, and it didn't sell. I don't think it had any bids on it. I don't know why. Now it's had a couple of bids on it, I think, and yeah, it's up to $2.25. This is a nice piece of Faiwa. It's 15 inches tall. It's got a nice custom stand under it. It's Ming. I like the top. I love the serpents on the side, and the glaze is good and tight on this thing. Often these Faiwa pieces, they get wet and the clay soaks up and the glazes fall off, and they don't hold up very well over time. This one is in good shape and has nice colors, very rich, deep colors. And hopefully this time it'll find a home. I hate it when that happens. I almost contacted them to see if they wanted to sell it to me because I liked it so much. I thought it was great. But I think it's gonna get off the ground this time. It's a good looking thing. And it should bring $600 or $800 all day long, but who knows these days? It's kind of crazy. And then hopping over to this turquoise glaze dish on stand. And I contacted Kendall at Leland for this because they think they were told, they had somebody look at it and they told them it was late Ming. I think this is Kangxi. Either way, it's good. It doesn't make any difference. They're both good. I would almost prefer it be Kangxi. Maybe that's my own prejudice showing through. But this crackle, this fish roe crackle down here makes me think it's more likely Kangxi, and also the thin back. But they had the thin and very hard white paste porcelain here, and the way this is done makes me think it's probably Kangxi. But they had somebody there that disagreed. Okay, that's fine. Okay, some people disagree on the ages of things. Referring to the part of the video at the beginning, some people disagree. At any rate, this is a nice looking dish. It's obviously got age. It's 8 inches in diameter. It's very, very pretty. The turquoises they did back then were so pretty. They were beautiful, and it should bring $500 to $700. It's an awfully nice piece of porcelain. If you collect Kangxi porcelain, take a look at it. And then this is, you may remember, this was the brush pot that was in the last sale. It brought around 15,000. And I don't know what happened. The guy didn't pay for it, or I don't know what happened. But there were loads of people interested in it. Well, they relisted it, and it's already up to $8,000. And this is the pot. It's a nice pot. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't know why it didn't get out of there, except that maybe the people didn't have the money or something. Well, they got too excited bidding and they overspent. But there's the bottom of it. Again, Kangxi, it looks fine. It's very dirty. The bottom of this is dirty. I think there's probably a little bit of glue thumbprints on here or something, little rust spots, but it's got the banding and it looks absolutely fine to my eye. And it's back up to 8,000 with the crack. It'll sell. And then over to this, I left a bit on this just to keep track of it. This is it's a rare gilt splash late Ming Meiping vase in bronze. It is huge. For one of these, it's huge. It's 17 and a half inches tall. And they didn't make many of these. This is a rare bird. If you've been looking for a spectacular piece of gilt bronze to buy, this is it. This is a great looking bronze. The surface is good. The gilding on it, I like the way the gilding looks. It's got black halos around the gold. And it's very, very nicely sprinkled all the way down. It's got the Ming mark on the bottom. Here's the top. Shoulder looks good. There's no bends in it. There's no dents in it. There's the bottom. It looks absolutely fine. It looks absolutely fine. And if you go to look at this up, and you look in the Christie's catalogs or Sotheby's catalogs, you're not going to find one of these that's sold in the last, I bet in the last 20 years. Tell me if you can find one this size. There have been smaller ones, 8 inches, 9 inches, yeah. But almost 18 inches tall. That's a big piece of gilt splash bronze. And I think it's going to do very well. It's already up to 3,200. And I suspect it'll bring, I would think, 15 or 20,000. It's a beautiful piece, and it came out of an estate in North Carolina. I found out, and it had been there forever. So there we go. All right, now over to this. You have this. This is a nice. What is a Zhenfeng? How big is this thing? 7.5 inches, 7 5/8, 7.5. Copper red or liver red dish. And it looks fine. I don't see anything wrong. It's got a couple of natural wears, scratches. It's got a white rim on it that looks like it's had a few glaze pops on it and so forth. And it has a little discoloration under the rim, maybe from the firing here, a little darkening there, which is normal. But the foot looks fine. The bottom is slightly blue, has a slightly bluish tinge to it by the looks of it in the picture. And a nice a little bit of iron oxide line around it. It appears to be marking period. You might want to get some daylight photos of this sent to you. But it looks awfully good. And it should bring, what do these bring? $1,500 to $2,500, I would think. And then the last thing, this is a pretty striking object. It's a big, large, as they say, large Tibetan bronze seated figure of the Shakyamuni. And now this thing is 15 inches tall, 10 inches wide. So it's a big bronze. But when you look at it carefully, you'll recognize that it's just covered with natural wear. If you look at this area on the shoulder here, there was fabric coming over. It's got lots of areas of natural looking wear. It doesn't look like it's been treated in any way. This is age. And then the strap over the shoulder, that's age. And the face, the beautiful, beautiful shaping of the eyes, still has the stone in the head, the way the ears are done. And just go down it. There's no areas on this that look like anybody tried to fake any age. And that's what one of the things you almost look like on these gilt bronzes, because there are a bunch of companies in Asia that make bronzes and they ship them heavily into Europe. Copies of bronzes end up in European sales all the time. So if you see an auction house in Canada, not in Canada, but in Europe in particular, that seems to have an endless source of gilt bronzes, run for your life. All right, because there weren't that many. But there's a couple of auction houses over there, and every time they have an auction, they've got 40 or 50 gilt bronzes. And there are workshops in China that make those, in Nepal, and there are workshops also in India and places doing the stone carvings. And a lot of them end up in Europe. It's absolutely amazing. So be very, very careful. You shouldn't have, no auction house should have consistently large supplies of the same kinds of things. All right, so always look at their history before you bid. At any rate, there you have this very nice Shakyamuni, and this looks absolutely fine to me. And I think it should bring $30,000 or $40,000. This is a beautiful bronze. Here's the bottom of it, nicely cast, very clean casting. The plate's been taken off the bottom. Here's the hook that held the plate in, or they took it. Maybe they took the plate off to take the picture. I'm not sure, but it looks absolutely fine. There it is, and you know, if you like Buddha figures, that's a good one. It's a big one, and it would make a nice spot in a room on an end table. So there you are. That's sort of it for the week. We went really long today. This is over an hour. I'm sorry. Thank you for watching. I hope I didn't spend too much time at the beginning, but it was something I wanted to get out and explain. Just let my thoughts be known. I try to be really transparent with everybody, as you all know. And so you're going to see that other video go, and this one will be up. And hopefully it didn't offend anybody having to call attorneys. How childish can you get? That's it. That's it. Thanks for watching. Join us over on Patreon. We put some things up over there this week. They're kind of fun. And I want to say enjoy the spring. It's finally here. Our poppy field is we have a little poppy group out in front of our house, and it all sprang this week. It's coming up every day more and more. I'll take a picture during the week for you next week to see. So I love the colors. Love the color. All right. And it's been sunny now for actually 2 days in a row, which is amazing in New England. All right. Thanks for watching. All right. Bye-bye.